Welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
And I'm Michelle.
I think that art and film can help us in a lot of different ways. We can find catharsis. We can be shown a new perspective on something from a person that has lived a very different life than ours.
We can also be shown something familiar to us, something personal that we know, but we haven't quite been able to put into words. We see our anxieties there on the screen, our fears, our insecurities, and in seeing them on display, they become clearer than we've seen them before.
Today we're talking with Jessica Sherif about her new short film, Chatter. Jessica is a writer, producer, actor. She's really done it all. She directed Right to Offend, The Black Comedy Revolution, and produced Under Pressure, the U.S. Women's World Cup team.
Chatter is a short film that depicts a familiar scenario in a new, fantastical way. We follow two people that just met as they walk and flirt their way through New York City, all while navigating the exchange of information about their personal and professional lives that will make or break this new relationship.
We also see and hear their own inner voices, portrayed through a variety of actors, languages, and attitudes.
This is our conversation with Jessica Sherif. We hope you enjoy it. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Chatter.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me.
So you wrote and directed this short, and you've got such a wide range of credits before this: acting, producing, directing. What was it about Chatter that made you want to make this now?
Why now? I don't really know. It just came to me now. But I think what inspired the story, there was no particular reason. What inspired the story is really just from having so many conversations from myself being, multicultural, growing up in between identities and languages and countries and all of that. And constantly getting the question of, okay, but what language do you think in? But what country are you really from? What are you really? What's your one thing? hmm And so many people, when they find out I'm a polyglot, always ask, okay, but what's the one language, right? What do you think in? And it keeps switching. For real, it just does, depending on who I'm talking to. If I hear all of a sudden someone walking by speaking French, my brain just switches. And so that was the seed, if you will, of the idea. And then, I do a lot of comedy. I love rom-coms. That's sort of my direction. And so I wondered, how do I mesh those two together? And yeah, and that's how Chatter came about.
Is there a specific language you count in?
Ooh, that's a good one. Multiple. It
Multiple?
depends.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
genuinely depends. Probably goes closer to French and Spanish.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
also do it in English. If I'm speaking English a lot, then I'll just naturally will do it. But yeah, that's a great question. It's true. Yeah.
A woman I used to work for, she was Polish, but she can only count, not only, but she chose to count in Polish, but then she would speak English. And then I have a friend who's Russian and also would count in Russian and be like, how do I say, let me count? And I'm like, so fascinating. So fascinating.
It is. And I think with two languages also, right? But growing up with so many multiple languages and hearing, I think it's a weird thing where it's not like I can say, oh, this is the tongue. This is the language.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that you necessarily have a really large cast for a short, but by the time we finish, we've got 8 speaking parts, multiple locations around New York City. How long was your shooting schedule, and were you guys on schedule? Did this take longer time than you thought last time?
That's a great question. It took 4 days total. And I definitely could have used more. Mostly because a lot of our schedule had to be very broken down in very specific ways because of the time of the day, right? Because we are following one whole day. And so we had to split it up, especially for the evening. We ran mostly on schedule. I had to cut a couple of shots. So I could have used a little bit more time, but who can't in short films?
Right.
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest thing for me was the weather. Alex, our incredible cinematographer, who I've worked with before on several of my doc projects. I kept texting him. I mean, probably the whole month before, because we're outdoors for the whole thing, which is insanity.
Yeah.
And, it's a short. It's not like we can just reschedule easily or move scenes around. And so I was quite literally getting to the point that I was checking the weather on a daily basis, 3 weeks in advance. And he's just like, do not do this to yourself. You have
Yep.
to stop.
Yep.
And we got so lucky. So that was, we had rainy weekends, at least one day of rain in the weekends for 3 or 4 weeks before that. And then 3 or 4 weeks after that. And that was the one weekend where we did not get
Wow.
a single drop of rain.
Oh,
That's crazy.
what a gift.
That was insane.
What a
Yes.
gift.
Well, I commend you for being able to quell your anxiety. When we got married, it was like, are we gonna do it outside? And we both decided that, like, setting a date that far in advance and not knowing if it would rain, we were like, we're doing it inside. We can't trust that this will happen.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, going to the voices, I like to think of our inner chatter as sort of our internal committee. Different voices with totally different personalities. It was amazing to see Semia's background and how hers was reflective. How did you come up with the idea to personify her inner dialogue this way? You have this blue eyed blonde American woman, and then you have a composed French woman, and then you have like the courageous Arabic woman. How did you come up with that idea?
So it was what I was saying earlier about when people asking me, what do you think but also when you have a fragmented identity by the very nature of who you are, and people try to say, well, what are you really? What's the one thing? And there is no one thing, because that's literally how I am, right? Broken down even more voices than that.
Hmm.
At first, I also had a Spanish voice, and then I had to slowly start to bring,
Mm.
the cast was getting too big. That's just how I am and how the inside of my head is, I guess, but also my identity on a bigger level. And I think I really wanted to have the two white, blue eyed blonde characters be their anxieties.
Hmm.
Oh,
And because I
interesting.
definitely think that's more, yeah, that's definitely something that I picked up more in North America. And then I just wanted to represent different facets of her personality through her culture and through her mixed heritage and mixed background. And so, I mean, obviously it's a short film. I had to select only a few ones and a few personality traits. But it was really that for me, because I think when you have that fractured identity, those sides of your personality don't just stem from growing up in one culture or lessons learned from one culture, but they stem from influences from all these various backgrounds. And so sometimes one pulls at you more than the others. And so I was trying to match, like you said, the French, with a certain part of your personality, the Arabic
Hmm.
woman. I also wanted to portray her not with the we constantly see Arab characters portrayed either through trauma or victims or
Mm.
aggression. And I wanted to portray what I know as my Arab heritage, which is joy and
Mm.
excitement and resilience. And so that was really fun to do, dividing them that way. Yeah.
So I like the voices as not only an extension of the self, but also as a kind of guardian angel that exists outside of the self. So it's not like we only see them exist when the main character is engaging with them, right? How did you decide that they would reach out and communicate with the guys' voices? Like I know, like, everything that you've said so far, talking about the fragmented personality and multiple aspects of one person. When did it come into play that it was like, oh, actually they can now exist in their own lives and have their own communications independent of their main character?
I love that question, because they always interacted with each other as the voice of one person, but I didn't have them interact with the male characters' voices until I really leaned into the romance idea. Because at
Mhm.
first it was more so a story about a woman and her inner voices, and then as I leaned into the rom-com aspect and really wanted to go into that direction, I thought it would be such a great metaphor for the idea of two people connecting. Because we always, right? I mean, there's a million think pieces about why do we connect so much with certain people and not with others, right? And so I wanted to show it through this idea that all of a sudden they're communicating with another person's voice. And that's sort of emblematic of the fact that there is something, a greater connection between these two people, because their voices are able to talk to each other. So again, it's still a short. It's not right. It's not exploring it the way you could in a feature, but I thought just that would show the audience that there's something deeper, a deeper connection.
Yeah.
than normal because their voices are able to talk to each other. So it's a little bit of magical realism and a little bit of more of a metaphor for a romantic connection.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, yes, it is a short, and you can't fully, you don't get to insert exposition nicely over the course of 90 minutes, but you're communicating things visually. And so one of the voices just says, "Oh, this is new." And so we communicate to the audience that this is new, and everything that you
Hmm.
just said. So yeah, I think you handled it. For introducing new ideas, I think that you, yeah, did it well.
Thank you.
I
I
agree
appreciate that.
too, because I have definitely felt this over time. And this was like really cool to visually see this. Is like sometimes you meet someone and there's like this undeniable connection, something you can't quite put into words. It's magnetic. And it's almost like your committee is meeting the other person's committee before you actually realize it, but you can't quite
Mm.
put it
Yeah,
into
I love
words.
that. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah. What else, just to touch upon that a little bit more and go deeper, like what were you hoping it would reveal about connection, intimacy, and facing anxieties too? Because I love that we lean into that
Hmm.
a lot. Yeah.
I'm glad you caught that because that was really important to me as well. This aspect of mental health and this aspect of we all have these anxieties, and that's not what we put forward. So I love the idea that these two main characters are very poised the whole way through, right? I had them really sort of stay not show their cards, right? Not until the very end, and really this is the first day I'm meeting someone. But the reality is all of us, right? No matter our gender, no matter our age, no matter our ethnicity, uh, we all have these anxieties that are just boiling inside. So I really wanted them to come forward, them to be the thing that is coming forward while our two main characters are staying very
Mm.
poised and cool and calm and collected.
Yeah. It's like when the anxieties, when we see them kiss and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
your anxiety can be comforted by that person's anxiety and you can even each other out. Like maybe have like this even playing field.
Exactly.
I really loved that.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So I love classic film, and unfortunately for people in our age group, to some people, classic film is now referring to like the late '80s.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
Where when I say it, I think of the late '30s to '40s. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm going to use the word intangible, not because it's a good definition, but because at the moment, with the time given, I couldn't come up with concrete examples. But I felt a lot of intangible references to classic films in Chatter. Some of that is coming from the score, some of that is coming from the very universal, simple, meet cute. But I think what's evoking a lot of these feelings is the setting, New York City in the fall. It's very romantic, right? Unless you're
Hmm.
Autumn in New York, which different
Oh,
movie. Uh,
yeah, no.
was that always the setting that you envisioned for telling the story, and what made New York City the right choice for this?
So I'm so glad you are saying this, and I completely agree with you. To me, a classic film is Roman Holiday, and to most
Right.
people, a classic film is When Harry Met Sally. And I'm like, no,
Yes.
I need to process this.
I think that we can. I think that we can include both of those things on a
Yes.
timeline.
Mhm.
but yeah.
I love that you asked this and that you picked up on this. New York has always been a setting to me for classic rom-coms. That's my favorite
Mm-hmm.
genre. I think that's one of the most underappreciated genre nowadays. I think
Mm-hmm.
it definitely in its heyday. I think people see it as, the term chick flick, the term,
Mm-hmm.
all that sort of thing. Whereas to me, I really wanted, this was also sort of my love letter to Nora Ephron, right? I think her warmth, her wit, the way that she portrayed New York is literally the reason why I moved to this country, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we're
Wow.
talking about such an influence, and she was able to capture a romanticism without making it feel saccharine, right? Making it feel witty and warm and fun. And so I love that you picked up on this score. So Patrick Stump, is our incredible composer from Fallout Boy, and I remember he was on tour and I was like, I have this film. Let me know if you could. He's an incredible composer as well. And so I just sent him the rough cut and was like, I get it if you don't have time. And he was just like, damn it.
Wow.
This is awesome. And the brief was very much that. It was very much with our editor, also Don Money, who's incredible. we were talking about those sort of Nora Ephron classic films and those scores that feel very jazz, very New York City. And so
Hmm.
New York was a part of it from its inception, but also as we were going in post and really creating this film outside of just the visuals. So I
Yeah.
love that you picked up on that. But yeah, for me, Nora Ephron, I mean, I love Richard Curtis, I love Rob Reiner, I love Richard Linklater, right? I love the conversational realism that Linklater brings to everything. And again,
Hmm.
that's harder to do in a short, but I really wanted that to come through with the voices. So yeah, that was it. I definitely, my intent was definitely to sort of pay homage to these amazing classic films. And so I'm glad you picked up on that.
Film has a language, but it has dialects within its overall language. And I would say a New York film is similar to a Christmas film, where there's a feel and there's a set of tools and tones that communicates to the audience. And so I hate when people are like, oh, there's just something I can't put my finger on. So that must be the way that it is. But
I love that. No, but you're totally right. I love that comparison too, because it's true. There's certain elements, and a lot of them are visual elements too, right? For New
Mhm.
York. I mean, it's there's a reason why so many movies are filmed here. There's it's a production design dream. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
mean, for us, we didn't even have a production designer because
right,
everything just looks magical already.
right.
Yeah.
Because we're outdoors, yeah.
Yeah. Going in and talking about our main character, what was interesting to me is that we're also seeing this modern experience of being ashamed, well, kind of ashamed of what you do and having anxiety over telling someone if you do work freelance, or maybe you're not too proud of your job, or maybe you feel your job is a big deal, but you don't want to share that with someone. Why did you choose this to be the initial conflict for this relationship?
It came from being a millennial and conversations with all of my friends in and out of the industry, right? It's not
Hmm.
just in this industry. I mean, we all know we're going, and this was written before the last few years that we've had, and so many people are struggling so hard in this industry, more so than I think people outside of it even realize. And so it came from all those conversations, but also friends who aren't. I feel there's not a single millennial friend of mine or acquaintance or when I hear, even when I see online, that are truly just like, no, this is the way that I feel our parents were much more secure with this idea of what
Hmm.
a career meant. And I
Hmm.
think we grew up being told one thing. And then here we are as adults experiencing a completely different world where those rules no longer apply, but we still carry those expectations. And so I've had so many of those conversations. I've seen so many of those memes, right? And I think it's a very universal thing for a very specific generation, ours, of it's never enough, but always we're not good enough. The pressure we put on ourselves and the expectations we had when we reached a certain age, right, in our 30s. And so I just think all of that is interesting. And so I wanted it to come across in two different ways with those characters. One, she's more on the quote unquote artistic side, if you will, right? And he's more on the corporate side. But neither of them feel comfortable enough to just stand in their power and say, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I do. It's not exactly how I expected things to turn out. And I think that's very real. And so I wanted them to connect on that as well, because it's something that I noticed around me, myself and my peers. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how we all feel this way. We're all self aware that we feel this way, and yet we can't stop feeling this way,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
no matter what
Yep.
we
The
do.
millennial
Yep.
story.
It's the
Yeah.
millennial story, exactly.
Yeah. Michelle and I talk about pretty much everything in
uh,
life.
yeah.
And I think the thing that we talk with each other about the least is
Mhm.
our jobs.
Our
That's
day jobs.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. Even though, like, we know the anxieties behind it. Well, I think
Right.
you know my anxieties about it. So,
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
oh, how's work? It's like, yeah. Anyway. I love that you brought up Linklater because I see you could have done this short two different ways where you just tell the story, and this is, Jesse and Celine walking through the streets of New York City,
Hmm.
and you maintain 100% of that part of the story. You could have also done this where it's not that at all, and we're just seeing the voices, watch the characters from afar, and you also maintained 100% of the bones of that. So it was interesting how you combined that very. I mean, yeah, Before Sunrise isn't super modern now, but at the time it was
Mm-hmm.
the dial. The dialogue was incredibly modern and fresh and new, and so I love that this is so modern, but then it has that magical realism. This isn't really a question. I'm just.
He's like, I need
Thank
to
you.
get on
I'll
my
take it.
soapbox and talk about it.
Well, I
I'm
don't need
honored.
to.
Thank you.
I'm just acknowledging. I see the link later, but I commend you for going the extra step, and you know, we know that like you don't want to put a hat on a hat, but I think you were able to marry two things, quite nicely. Anyway,
I appreciate that. No, I
sorry,
appreciate
Michelle.
that
I'll
because there
stop
was no.
giving her compliments.
No, please give all the
I'll
compliments. This
take
is
them.
funny.
Thank you. No, but I do appreciate you saying that because that was definitely ruminating in my brain throughout the whole process. So
Hmm.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
We have a lot of listeners who are filmmakers themselves or who are interested in making movies or are interested in the creative process, right? How do you navigate creating things while also having this internal chatter? Do you silence it? Do you work with it?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Going deep.
Because, as creative people, sometimes we like to say, we're compelled, we have a mandate from heaven that compels us to wake up every day and do what we do, right? But the reality is that a lot of times you wake up and it's like, I think I'm just going to lay in bed and not do anything, and the majority of people let that chatter stop them.
Mhm.
You have an idea and it's like, well, no, but not that, right? So how do you kind of get through that?
It's a weird one, right? Because I don't want to say it's not easy because when you're really into it, when the ideas come, right? It's so exciting and developing it. I think it's the resilience of sticking with it that is the harder part for everyone. And I think, I mean, I'm a big believer in habits, right? And forming habits, and a little bit every day takes you so much further away than, okay, I'm going to just take 2 weeks off and just write the perfect script. Like that's,
Mm-hmm.
to me, is not as realistic. And I think that's how a lot of people approach it because we romanticize writing, we romanticize filmmaking, we romanticize art for good reason. But I think the reality of it is much more of the craft part of things. And so to me, the that chatter sometimes it's less so. Yeah, there's always the, oh, this, I mean, there's every single filmmaker I've ever met and ever read about always says there's that period, right? It usually starts in post-production where you're just like, what have I done? Just, oh no, oh no. And I've never not had that feeling in any single project I've ever done. But I've also learned that that's just a normal thing. So I think that's also part of the negative chatter. I think being inspired by it because also it's a positive and the negative, right? So the negative, not letting it bog you down, and the positive, it's utilizing it. It's making sure that when those ideas come to me, I listen. I have a crazy folder on my phone. There's just ideas, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
just, and then having that persistence and that work ethic of just continuing and diving into it. But I think they can, in the same way that you said that chatter can stop you or make you lie in bed all day. That's fine if it happens the next day. Focus on that. There's multiple voices as we've talked about,
Right,
so I think
right.
it's which one do you listen to, in my experience. And yeah, there's bad days, there's good days, right? So make the
Yeah.
most of the good ones, I guess.
I wonder what it would be like to be the type of person, because I know that they exist, that doesn't have a file on their phone of just ideas.
I know.
Right, Michelle? Like when she said that, weren't you like, oh, yeah.
I mean, my love, my one of my love languages is a shared note. Like if we can have a shared note that has
Yes.
ideas, Seth and I think have like 10 shared notes of all of our. We have one for live shows. We have one for bit ideas. We have one just for our podcast. Like I
Movies that we're making
movies that
and
we're gonna make, movies
yeah.
that we want to watch, and just personal ideas. And I'm like, who doesn't use their notes app or who doesn't use Google? Who
Yeah.
just is this not normal? I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And it's not even just in the creative field, right? For
No, right.
example, literally yesterday, my husband was showing me, we were just chatting, and he was showing me on the Notes app. We were talking about Notes app for some reason. And he was showing me how he's sort of listing, he's British, a big Arsenal fan, and listing the players for each position. And he literally just shows me his Note app. And it's great because we can just download, especially nowadays, there's so much going
Yeah.
on. And I'm still on the fence about whether we're better off with cell phones and social media and all of this and the internet today. But one good thing I will say is the Notes app, because it allows us to just download these things that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
Yeah.
just floating in our brains. Yeah.
So how did you get into making movies? Why, at what point in your life did you say, oh, I like seeing this thing on the screen and I think I could do that?
It's a good question. I mean, I always loved anything artistic. I was growing up in Spain. I was doing ballet. I'm one of the children in the Nutcracker. I just loved everything that was storytelling driven. I didn't grow up with a family that was anywhere near this industry. And so the idea of it felt like impossible.
Yeah.
So I took the long way around, to be fair. I mean, I studied a little bit of everything, right? Theater. I mean, I literally, all I knew from this was watching the Oscars, right? We're talking the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm a teen. All I know, the only place I see women are literally getting nominated for either acting or costume design. And
Mm,
I literally moved to New York and studied both those things
wow.
and still cannot so to save my life. Tried very hard, just not, that's not how my brain works. And then acting, I would find myself, I was doing like commercials and little things here and there, and I'm on set and I'm getting kicked out of Video Village. But it
Mm,
still didn't register for me, because that's why I'm very big about representation, because I just didn't have, even though there were some incredible women, right? It still wasn't enough for me to be able to see myself in that position. And whether it be my gender, my background, my culture, whatever it is. And so I just it didn't even cross my mind that that would be a possibility. And so that's how I ended up going more towards journalism, because I figured, oh, with my background, and I'd gone to law school at 16, Doogie Howser style, and then
wow.
for the theater, I was like, oh, journalism combines both these elements. And to be fair, if this was the 70s or 80s, I probably would have stayed in journalism. For me, because I couldn't see myself in this world, I just figured there wasn't a place for me. So that's what drove me more to journalism. And then from there, went from journalism into documentary, because I preferred that form of storytelling. And the love of narrative was always there and is still there. And so I took the long way around to where I am today, which, might take a little bit longer, but all these different things I picked up, whether it be life experiences, but also different facets of the industry and different facets of telling a story or filming a story. I think all of that now is imbued in how I approach my work. So yeah, it was a long way around, but I'm glad it led to a lot of incredible experiences.
Do you prefer one over the other? Producing, directing, writing,
Directing.
Hmm.
directing.
Probably directing. I love the collaborative element. I love, people always say you're either more of a performance director or a technical director, right? You just
Yeah.
like the camera and the gadgets, or you just like the collaboration with the performance, or even right interviewing if it's in doc. But I genuinely am passionate by both. And I
Hmm.
genuinely love collaborating on all these technical elements with my DP, with my editor, right? Just all these different facets from production to delivery. But I also love that more creative aspect, right? In creating and in working with performers. And so to me, it hits every single thing. I do love writing, because it's just something I can do on my own. And I sit there and I just lose myself for hours. And I love writing, rewriting. I love structure. I love I'm a dork about all of it. So, but I think directing is probably, if I had to pick one, not that you need to anymore nowadays, but if I had to
Yeah.
Right.
pick one, that's probably the one where I feel the most at home and like it hits
Wow.
everything.
Last question. Do you get a very specific ice cream cone and only eat the top?
Yes. That is me. And that has been called out by many people. They're like, what are you doing? I love an ice cream cone and I never can finish the ice. Exactly what she says is basically how I feel about ice cream cones. I like the top and then it gets too mushy or too dry and I need it. Yeah. So definitely not proud of it, but I definitely will waste ice cream cones
Is this your
sometimes.
order? Like, if you're going out for ice cream, this is always, do you get the same ice cream
No.
flavor, same cone? Do you get it dipped? Like, there's a lot of, factors here you could play with.
That is true. So I'm a total ice cream girl. I'm a gelato girl. So my
Okay.
go-to, I don't have a big sweet tooth,
Sure.
first of all. So my flavors, like I will take like ube ice cream over anything else. So my flavors are lemon gelato. That's like my go-to. I will always crave a good lemon gelato. I like the bitter. I like the sour, sorry. Um, I like the sour. I like that more than anything else. But once in a while, once in a blue moon, when I do crave something more on the chocolate realm or caramel realm, that's when the cone will come with it. So the cone only comes with a specific type of ice cream,
I
which only
figured.
comes once in a while. So at least it's not that much waste.
Okay, wait, follow up, and then I'll end this ice cream talk. Are you a toppings person when you're getting the ice cream on in the cone? No, this
Oh no,
is
never toppings. I am a
I
wow.
strict no
agree.
toppings.
Yeah, I
Mm-mm-mm.
agree.
No.
I like sprinkles and cherries, if anyone was wondering, but that's it.
Nice. So pretty. It makes it
It's
prettier.
so fun. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will look at all the toppings because I'm curious, but my
Good
ice
for
cream
you.
needs to not, yeah.
Shine on its own.
Well, you know what? I believe that because after witnessing your handiwork of balancing, right, these two very different tones and ideas here, I think that you're a person who knows what they want. And you know what? I'm going to trust your ice cream order.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation. We really got a lot out of it and we really enjoyed the short.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
both.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. This is a wonderful conversation, and I'm really excited to see the two of you in person on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Jessica for talking with us. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to add Chatter to your watch list so that you can check it out as soon as it is available.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.